Hi, this is an overview of PaperSave by PairSoft's Accounts Payable Invoice Automation module for Sage Intacct. Accounts Payable Invoice Automation is a fancy term for eliminating manual data entry into your Sage Intacct system to create the bill or that vendor invoice if it's PO related. PaperSave performs OCR, optical character recognition, taking data off of the invoice, populating profile fields, and then at the end, pushing a button and having it automatically create that payables transaction, bill or vendor invoice for PO invoices. I'm going to take you through that process. So the first step in any process is capturing the documents. I'm going to go into my workflow. You know that PaperSave has a lot of ways to capture documents. One of the most popular is monitoring an email address or email addresses to get those documents in. Even if you have PaperSave monitoring email addresses, this OCR is going to work. And if you're scanning paper, it's going to work. I'm actually going to take a handful of documents that are somewhere out on my network drive. We'll just take, let's go all the way to these, handful of them. PaperSave is going to bring them in, upload them. This is much like what's happening now if you're bringing documents into PaperSave, and you're going to see that the status now says OCR in progress. You'll see OCR in progress, OCR pending, different statuses as the document gets scanned in or scanned by the OCR. It's going to start filling in values, and you'll see them populate over here on the right hand side as well. If you think about the time that it takes an individual to do data entry, on average, it's about 30 to 60 seconds for an individual to manually key data into your Sage Intacct to create that bill. So not only is that time away from their day, but it also lends itself to data entry errors. They get interrupted during this process and their eyes are taken away, then they've got to refocus back. So all of that lends for time against their day, errors to happen. And you can see that PaperSave has actually pulled all of this information in literally less than a minute. So it's validated it. I'm going to submit it. It goes into the very first step of my workflow. What does that mean? That means, let's hit my refresh here. Those documents now are in this validation step. There we go. So my validation step is the very first step. So whether you've dragged and dropped the documents, you've scanned them because they're paper, or you've had PaperSave monitoring email addresses, those documents show up here with all of the data entered into the vendor, bill, transaction amount, due date, and bill date area. Now, what I'm going to do is point out that I do have some default GL distribution, so that's already taken into account and populated. So this would be an area that if you have defaults, great. If not, you'd have to key that in or have your approvers or reviewers add that in. I'm going to actually route this to myself for approval, but this process is your workflow. This is normally what you're doing. You're taking your invoices and you're routing them to individuals for approval. I'm going to go to my last step because we've done the data entry, right, into the fields, but there's still nothing that's happened inside of Intacct, so Sage Intacct. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to come to my last step, which is the final review. I can see that individuals have approved them. Now all I have to do is hit this submit button. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to actually change my invoice. Well, not that. I'm going to change my invoice number just to include the today's date so that I know I don't have a duplicate. And I'm going to put today's date here. Now, normally you would not have to do this. I'm doing it just so that we can get to this transaction very quickly. I'm going to hit submit. It's real time creating that Dell transaction. I get the next document in the stack. And let's just go ahead and put TB at the end of this one. And again, we'll change this to today's date. And I'm only doing this not because I had to do any data entry. I just want to be able to get to those transactions very quickly when I come into Sage Intacct. So we don't have to do an upload. We don't have to do a sync. All we have to do is hit that submit button and it's creating those transactions. So here's the Dell transaction I literally just created. PaperSave always becomes that tab. So I've eliminated manual data entry. I've streamlined the process. I've eliminated data entry errors. In addition to that, which should be enough to convince anybody that automation is a good thing, we are also going to provide you with dashboards. Now I've got some past dues because my invoices are all old, but this information is telling me that I have 101 documents. Where are they sitting? I want to be concerned about these past due. I can see who owns them. I also can come in here and change this. Maybe these past due, I need to make sure that Jennifer gets these through the system right away. So we're going to go ahead and, hit route or redirect and change those to an individual. I can also toggle over here and see who owns what in my workflow. Always being able to drill down and take action on that invoice. Again, all of this is there and capable of happening because of the OCR, the optical character recognition, and PaperSave by PairSoft's accounts payable invoice automation. I hope it was beneficial. If you'd like more information, please reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to do a deeper dive into this module for you. Thank you.